Hello friends, and welcome to another Dissertation Diaries episode. This time it's a bit of an essay crisis because this week we are on deadline. Now this is a deadline that I imposed on myself just to send a partial draft over to my advisor by the end of the week. I actually ended up starting this vlog on a Wednesday where I got up and got some coffee with a friend in order to start the day and then headed back to get working on the dissertation. Now I'm working on this section on the Virginia Company's sermons. So they actually sponsored, I believe, 11 sermons and one ballad, which was intended to essentially change public perception of the company. There were many people that objected to their actions in the colonies, rightfully so. And this is one of the lines that I saw. Certainly our objector has hatched from some popish egg. There were many lines like this, and I was just chuckling to myself because if you're going to do archival work, you might as well find some fun in it. And I was just working through this one section trying to analyze the sermons themselves. I have 3 sections on the sermons. One is primarily focused on the objections to their ventures in Virginia, namely objectors that said that their actions were illegal. And then the second section actually covers the seeking of investors and the kind of rhetoric of compensation. This is based on the secondary work of another scholar, so that section I wouldn't say is particularly new, but the section that I'm actually adding or contributing to my field is where I'm talking about the use of paternalistic rhetoric. In the mid-afternoon, I decided that I would spice things up by making myself a little cold brew tea. Anything to make it a little bit more special as we're working through some dissertation edits. And this was delicious. It was just an Earl Grey tea that I had steeped in cold water in the fridge overnight. It's delicious. It just kind of takes away a little bit of the bitterness of drinking tea. But this was a very long and very productive day where I was working through those 3 sections. Day 1 of the vlog. Not gonna lie, wasn't gonna vlog this week. Just feeling a wee bit stressed about the dissertation, but I also had to submit my visa this week, and I also had to spend a lot of money on that visa. But I decided to film because I think I am going to want to remember this process of slightly panicking in preparation for submitting this chapter. It's the first piece of written work that I've sent to my advisor in over a year and a half. The last time I submitted anything to them was back when I did my chapter conference. And this is before stuff with the job really took off, before I quit the job, and I have all of this kind of like pent up anxiety about it. And I was struggling with procrastination earlier today, and so I decided I would just like word vomit everything I was feeling. And it really came down to feeling anxious about submitting something again and having my work reviewed, perceived, given feedback. What I was doing in writing it down was just trying to remind myself that none of the feedback they've ever given me was bad. It's always been constructive. It's always been actually quite helpful. That it's just part of the process. And it's actually a good thing that I'm going to be given feedback. And part of this is thanks to like being in accepted society and like having other PhD students and other graduate students and other researchers around to like vent to know that I'm not the only person even at the moment going through this. And so I've decided I'm gonna go ahead and put down tools for the rest of today. I did a good amount in this one section. I got a couple more pages written. There's still a lot of work to do, but I will not do any good work if I don't have a good night of sleep and reduce the amount of whatever stress hormone that is in my body. So I will see you tomorrow. Now, just because I'm on deadline does not mean that I don't have responsibilities to take care of the house. I always find that when I'm stressed out about a deadline and I have things approaching, I always let my space just kind of fall apart. And I don't know if I actually do this intentionally or if I would just like to believe I do it intentionally, but it is nice when, you're stressed out and you do actually have something that you can control and clean up to make a little bit better before getting into the groove of writing. And instead of just diving straight into writing that morning, I wanted to give myself a little bit of time. So I watched one of my favorite YouTubers and hung out with Moo in the living room, having a breakfast and just trying to set myself up to have a good day.
and then it was time to go ahead and dive on into the dissertation. Now, as you've seen in some of my recent videos, I have been using this dissertation diary in order to kind of organize my thoughts and think through the dissertation methodically. In addition to mind mapping certain sections, I also write these daily entries about kind of my thoughts around the research, the emotions that I'm experiencing as I'm going into the writing, any frustrations that I'm coming up against. And it's just a nice way to kind of catalog the experience in addition to doing this on YouTube, because I don't film every single day. I oftentimes only film about maybe 30 or 40% of what I'm actually working on day to day. So it's nice to have this other source of truth where I have my thoughts collected. Now, I find these clips so funny because I was showing them to Kate. If you don't know her, she's my best friend and my business partner. And she said that when I'm on deadline and I'm nearing it, I start to pout while I'm writing, and I can see it. I just think it's hilarious that she pointed that out, and now I can't unsee it.
Man, what a day it has been. It is currently 5:22. It has been a productive day. We have written, I think, about 4 pages so far today, but there is still plenty of work to do, quite a ways to go. I'm happy with what I've written so far, but I do want to get out of this one section and move on to the next. But I'm quite tired. I did another hour sprint after the write-in this morning, and then decided I would take a little power nap before I had to do my office hours. And I'm gonna take a break until 6 o'clock to read the next book in the Independent Heart series by Andrea Severson. This is The Candle Shop of Wicks and Whimsy. If you are a cozy romance reader, like contemporary romance, this is set in a small town in the Midwest. It's like closed door spice, so it feels very chaste, very child friendly. But everyone in these stories are in their 30s, and this is a second chance romance, and I'm really enjoying it. So if you really like, 1, supporting indie authors, which we should all be doing, and 2, love a cozy romance, but also really like books that have, I guess, just very immersive settings, then I would highly recommend checking out the Independent Heart series. She also has one set in London. It's called the Across the Pond series. I'm gonna have them all linked down below. The thing about indie authors is that I often don't have the money for marketing and other resources that traditional publishers do, or even some other indie authors that are also big time creators. So if you like these types of books, please, please, please check out Andrea. She has her most recent book. It will be out, I believe, by the time this YouTube video has gone live. So please head over, support her, let her know on her YouTube channel that I sent you, and support an indie author. So I'm gonna go ahead and just read this for a bit. Just give myself 30 minutes to just kind of relax, and then we're going to do another sprint on the dissertation. So I will pour myself a nice cold brew tea, get back to it, but for now, we're gonna read. Okay, I'm done with my reading break, and I wanted to reflect on the writing process as a PhD student versus all the other types of writing that I've done in my academic career. I have always been the type of person that reads and reads and reads and outlines and outlines and outlines and rewrites and rewrites and rewrites until I finally like hit the kind of pressure point where writing then becomes easy. But the problem is that with the depth that you go into when you do a PhD, degree to which you can trust that you will produce enough pages is the part that changes. So when I was an undergrad, I knew that I could pull out about 10 pages in a day. if I had decent enough pressure. And what's been frustrating to me is coming to the realization that I actually can't write 10 pages in a single day anymore. And it's not because of energy, it's not because of ability to write that many pages, it is because of the research itself. And I'm meant to submit tomorrow to my advisor. Now, this isn't a deadline that they gave me. They said that they would like to see a chapter by the end of the summer. The end of the summer is technically in 2 weeks, but with the symposium and all the other things that are going on, it just makes more sense to send them what I've got for this chapter tomorrow. It feels like for every sentence, there's so much work that has gone into ensuring that I have the source material to make that statement. On the one hand, that feels really empowering because I feel like I know a lot. I've read a lot. I feel like I know my subject really intimately, but at the same time, it is so frustrating. It's been a long day. To be honest, I don't want to open this document, but you know what? I'm just gonna log on. I'm gonna do another hour or two. I really want to get this section done, and it's just going to be my process. I just need to accept that that's how it is. I guess that's what I'm learning throughout this PhD and and creating these dissertation diaries is more that it's not about finding the system, it's about accepting the system that works for you and acknowledging your natural patterns and how that is going to be affected by a PhD and the types of things that come with it, because I'm really loving what I'm pulling together. It feels really rich. It feels really helpful. It feels like I am making a contribution to the conversation after to be done. I want to be making more progress. And it just feels like I could just power through an essay in community college. I could power through an essay in undergrad. And it just feels like the writing process has gotten slower and slower and slower. Anywho, that is where we're at. Katie got me this lovely English toffee from Trader Joe's, ironically from America. And I'm gonna use that as my motivation to continue working. I can have sweet treats to make this process a little less painful.
And now we are on to Friday, the official day of my deadline, and boy, was I feeling some kind of way about this. I made up some kind of calming tea in the morning in order to just get working on some edits, and I talk about this in a moment, but I ended up just kind of diving into my footnotes and making some of these edits. I joined just co-working session with Kate so she could hold my hand a little bit as I was going through it, but after a while I just needed to walk away, so I went and got a matcha and some lunch, and I just took a little bit of a break because I just needed to get away from my computer for a little while, and sometimes that is the thing that helps me reset. And just having a nice meal, taking a little bit of time, it just helps pull me back to center when I'm spiraling a bit. It doesn't necessarily eliminate all of it, but it does certainly help.
at 6,920 words. There is 14 good pages, and there are 10 not so good pages. It is not a complete draft. It is nowhere even close to where I want it to be. But you know what? I'm gonna send my advisor an update, and I'm just gonna need to keep on working on this while I'm at Oxford, and that's okay. I think I have made a really good amount of progress this week. I have some strong primary source analysis in here. It's just the beginning. Like, I only have up through section 1.1, and there's 3 sections with multiple subsections. So I don't have any doubt that I will hit the page count that this chapter needs to be, which is about 40 pages. I'm proud of the words that I have written, and so it's time to submit. I've drafted the email to my advisor. Basically, I said that, you know, there's a decent amount of pages that are quite well written. There are some pages that are very not well written. I propose that I will send the complete draft to you September 9th. I am attaching the draft, and that's the part that always makes me the most anxious, is actually sharing my writing. I have given them a thorough update on chapter 1, 2, and 3, where they are, my plan for them, the kind of rough timeline, and I'm just gonna hit send. Okay, it's sent now. I feel really just drained, but also like very emotional. I feel very worried about the feedback that I'm gonna get, but you know what, every time I've gotten feedback from my advisor, it's been helpful, and this might just actually help me, you know, move forward, and it is what it is. So I've gotten a good amount of work done today. I am exhausted, and I just need to walk away from this for a little while, and I'll come back to it next week when I'm in Oxford. It's not the full submission that I wanted, but you know what, we just started yesterday, and we have written 2,100 words. Now, part of that is that section that I found that I had written before and moved over, but a good amount of writing. I fixed all the footnotes. It's organized enough. It is what it is. It's in my advisor's hands now. So I am going to go ahead and bid you adieu. Thank you so much for joining me for this absolutely chaotic experience. I think this is probably going to be the experience for the rest of the dissertation, but I do feel like I'm finally building momentum, and I am getting into a flow with writing again, which I think is the hardest part, is just getting past the challenge of getting words on the page. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. If you're new here and you are not yet subscribed to the channel, then please, by all means, hit the subscribe button. You can also follow me over on Instagram and TikTok. And if you are an academic or a lifelong learner, then be sure to check out Accepted Society. So I've now done all of my self-promo. It's time to go ahead and call it a day. I'm gonna go read my book. I'll see you all soon. Bye, friends.